Welcome to the Impatient Entrepreneur Podcast, a show where we hear from entrepreneurs and business owners who are chomping at the bit to make their mark on the world. I'm your host, Lauren Quidar-Cockrell. Now, let's hurry up and get to the good stuff. Welcome back, friends. Today, we're going to talk about the business of payroll. Please meet Charles Reed, a CPA and U.S. Tax Court Practitioner, which can't wait to talk about that. Among many other achievements, he's the founder of GetPayroll. Charles, welcome to the show.
Lauren, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Likewise. You have some really unique aspects to how you've gone about your business and what you do that's different than what others might have experienced or expect from payroll. So I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. So tell us about your business and kind of the backstory of that a little bit. Well,
I left corporate 33 years ago. This December will actually be a third of a century we've been in business.
Wow.
That makes me feel old. And really early on, it was an accounting firm with a payroll sideline, but we liked the payroll, so we developed that. I sold the accounting practice off to my partner I'd taken on and kept payroll. And what we do with payroll is different than our competitors. Our competitors do a reasonably good job of producing paychecks. I mean, otherwise they'd be out of business. But what they don't do is they don't handle compliance. And as a CPA, compliance with the tax law became an obvious thing. And so we focused on that. The IRS makes millions of mistakes every year. And if you don't know how to deal with them, you're lost.
Yeah.
When I grew up, Pele was the world's best soccer player. But if you take Pele and put him in a New York Yankees uniform at second base, he'd be absolutely lost. So you have an entrepreneur that's good at his business, knows what he's doing, manufacturing, service, law, restaurants, whatever. And now you say, deal with the IRS.
Yeah, yikes.
They go, what? They're Pele at second base. They're totally lost. Okay, and so we're that utility infielder that you bring in that's been doing it for 20 years and knows every move in the game. So we handle that and we backstop you, whether it's your mistake or the IRS mistake or the happenstance or whatever. Those are the things we can handle in ways our competitors can't. That's why I became a U.S. Tax Court Practitioner.
Tell us more about that.
There's about 200 of us in the country, and we are allowed to practice at U.S. Tax Court without being an attorney.
Interesting.
It's the only federal court where non-attorneys can practice.
Okay. What does that mean?
I represent my clients in tax court as if I were a state licensed attorney.
Okay.
So I am counselor. I am their representation in tax court. I can go in just like an attorney would. As I said, there's about 200 of us in the country. It's a laborious process. The tax court really doesn't like us, but they're required to have us. And so they give a test once every 2 years in person in DC. And you have to show that you can handle evidence and tax court procedure and ethics and tax law. And so if you pass that, you become a U.S. Tax Court Practitioner.
And is that something you have to keep up with continuing education credits, or is it, once you're anointed, there you go?
Once you're anointed, like an attorney, once you're anointed, you're anointed. Now I keep up with continuing professional education as a CPA, of course. So, and I'm constantly reading case law and so on because frankly, it's fun.
God bless you, Charles Reed. There's a lid for every pot, isn't there?
Somebody's got to do it. I have a fun time doing it. Yeah. So
I love that. I love that.
It's not for everybody. I grant you that. But yet, I don't like to work out in the Texas summer and outside. So there's people who do. So I hire them.
Exactly. That's, if everybody were good at everything, we wouldn't need each other. So now, why might someone need representation in U.S. tax court?
The IRS makes millions of mistakes. I had a client that one of our competitors, they had moved to us and the competitor issued a W-2 as well. And 2 years later, the IRS says, well, you have all this income and all this taxes. And they wouldn't listen to them. And our competitor, I won't use their name, but their initials are ADP, after a year would not fix the problem. So he's stuck and he doesn't know what to do. So he talks to me and I write up a petition, send it into tax court with a $60 fee. I get a call from district counsel. I explain to him what went on. He looks at it and he says, okay. And that was the end of it.
Oh, okay.
Because what happens is when you file a petition with U.S. tax court, and you have to exhaust all the administrative procedures first. But sometimes it's a matter of time and they give you a notice of determination letter and you've got 90 days or else. So at that point you file a petition and it goes to docketed appeals and you get very sophisticated IRS people who understand the real world more than just some agent or revenue officer who is following a rule book. And they have, the IRS does not like to go to tax court because if they lose, it sets a precedent. So, and it's expensive and time consuming. So we get a lawyer, a district counsel, or a senior appeals officer who look at that and go, oh, that doesn't make any sense. Never mind. And it goes away. 95%.
The secret code.
Exactly. The secret menu. 95% of all U.S. tax court cases are settled pre-court.
Okay. Interesting.
So you're going to get, at minimum, you're going to get an offer. It's going to be less than what they're asking for. Can't lose.
Right. Okay. I'm flashing back to being a kid and, starting to advocate for myself in customer service type situations or whatever. And my mom, I'd make a call and be like, well, they said no. And my mom would always tell me, you need to find the person who can say yes.
and thank you. That's one of my favorite lines is with dealing with the IRS. It's a whole series of no's followed by a single yes. And you appeal, you appeal, you appeal, you appeal, you appeal, you appeal until you find somebody that says yes. And then you say, thank you very much and leave.
Right.
Keep talking.
I will take it. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what we're telling our kids now. Like, you've sold it. Stop talking.
You'll unsell it if you're not careful.
Right, exactly. Like, well, now I want it less. So after 33 years in this business, are you an impatient entrepreneur?
That's one of the things I've had to learn. And one of my favorite sayings from Bill Gates, you can't be impatient as an entrepreneur. It's the long game. Bill Gates put it very well. People will overestimate what they can accomplish in a year and underestimate what they can accomplish in a decade. It's a marathon. The first, for us, the first 8 years was 80 hours a week.
Absolutely.
It just was. I went into business with my wife and we worked at it very, very hard. We didn't take a vacation for 10 years, but it now provides me a very nice living. Getting ready to retire here in a few years. And it's done very well. So, yeah, I'm never going to have the 200-foot yacht. But I live very well and I have a nice retirement. So it worked out very, very well for me. Far better than, just a job. Far more satisfying. And not everybody's cut out to be an entrepreneur. And government jobs exist for a reason. Okay.
Keeps us busy. It's funny. I agree. Yes, it requires patience, and yet most entrepreneurs are deeply impatient.
That's why they're entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Okay. If they didn't think they could do it better, faster, cheaper, they wouldn't be an entrepreneur. They're dissatisfied with the system they're in. They look at it and say, I can do this better. And they want to do it. And so they become an entrepreneur. Yeah. And that's a great impulse. It's misguided as hell, but it's a great impulse. And too many entrepreneurs make themselves a job.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that's a mistake. And one of the keys to my success was Michael Gerber's The E-Myth
Yep.
Revisited.
Mm-hmm.
It was given to me by a friend. I was ready to fire everybody and move it back into the game room at the house and
Yes.
be a solo entrepreneur.
Yes.
And he gave me that book, and I read that, and it changed my entrepreneurial life.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I started working on my business, not in my business.
Yes. I have read that. It took me a while to get to it. And as I read it, I thought, oh, uh-huh. I'd been diligently working on my business when I got to that point, but I felt so vindicated for all the feelings I'd been feeling. And then all the stories that I've seen. We have a PR and marketing firm. And so, watching our clients go through these journeys, watching my peers, my competitors and colleagues, I was like, oh, okay, this is what everyone's going through. Please continue.
I buy it by the dozen. It's required reading for every new employee.
Mm-hmm.
And I give it to clients on a regular basis.
Yep.
Because it's an easy read, far easier to read than my book. But it really, I think that between that and In Search of Excellence by Tom Peters, every entrepreneur should read both of those.
Okay. I'll put that second one on my list. We'll put these in the show
Search of
notes too.
Excellence.
Thank you.
It's old. It's probably 40 years old now.
Okay.
But it was a major point in my life. I read it while I was still in corporate and utilized it. But I've been a real critic of American business management all of my life. I grew up in business. I've seen business. I've been around it for 70 years. And most of it is very poor.
Yep.
And if you can learn how to be a good business manager, it makes your life simpler. It makes your employees' life simpler. It makes your vendors' life simpler. It makes your customers' life simpler. And it makes you more successful.
Yeah, absolutely. Amen. Is there anything in particular that you're impatient about right now? You've got retirement on the horizon. Are you guys developing anything for the business? What's getting you excited these days?
Well, the laws keep changing. Now we have the whole payments transfer industry is changing, ACH. We've basically been forced out of banks into a third party because of regulation.
Okay.
I looked at forming our own bank.
Wow.
And talked to a friend of mine who's retired FDIC examiner. And basically, the federal government's not chartering new banks.
Interesting.
And neither are the states. They just don't want any more banks, and they're consolidating them on a regular basis. They are trying to shrink the players in the industry and provide a much, much heavier hand of federal control on them. And that's dismaying at a minimum. They are taking the competition out of it. Of course, anybody who watches TV and sees the bank commercials and gets a laugh out of them because they deal with a bank and know better. So it's just become a place for the big banks to print money and the rest of us to stay away from because we're not allowed. That's one of the things. Changes in technology. Technology is changing every day, and if you don't keep up with it, you're going to be left behind.
Yep, very much so.
I've seen changes. When I first started out, there were still accountants doing paper and pen ledgers. Okay, I didn't. I'd already moved into computers back in the late '60s, but there were still people doing it that way. And I've seen computers change and technology change, fax machines. I remember my first 1200 baud Hayes modem. Okay. And now anything under a 10 meg FiOS line is unsupportably slow.
Yep.
Okay. Which is, roughly 1,000,000 times faster than what I used to do.
Yep.
I remember my father telling me about the computers at Naval War College in the 50s. And it was a 2-story building, probably 20,000 square feet. And they had 2 guys who did nothing but change radio tubes all day long in it. Okay. I have way, way, way more computing power on my iPhone.
Yep.
Than the Naval War College had 70 years ago.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Okay. It's just incredible. So if you don't keep up with the changes and stay on the cutting edge, not the bleeding edge, but the cutting edge, you're going to be left behind. I mean, we were the first green payroll. We were the first crypto payroll. We've done a lot of things because we like to be on the edge of things. So
very cool. What does exit look like for you?
I'm selling the company to the employees.
Okay.
At a discount. They help build it
as an ESOP or something else.
We're working through the legal aspects of it. It'll be an ESOP or it'll be a leveraged buyout. Probably just a leveraged buyout. I'm not going to go through all the problems and set that up probably in a shared trust or something. And they'll pay me out of the revenue over the rest of my life. Very cool. It adds to my retirement.
Sure.
But they helped me build the company. I didn't do it myself.
Right.
Okay. So my family's not interested. My kids are grown. Hell, my baby's 60. I married a woman with children.
Oh, okay.
Ruth was 10 years older than I was when I married her.
Okay.
So they've gone off and had their own lives and aren't interested in it. The only one that really was, my eldest daughter passed away from ovarian cancer 32 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So she'd probably be in it with me, but it didn't happen. So they're going to get the business, and everything that's left will go into the Ruth Reed Memorial Scholarship Fund.
Beautiful.
When I die.
Okay. She's with you in spirit.
Absolutely.
And well, I love that. I'm glad that you are honoring those who are working with you and have worked with you to create it. Because I do, it can happen where folks forget what all went into it. It's, I would not be anywhere without my team. That's for sure. So that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. You've mentioned a couple books. Is that how you like to fuel yourself as a leader? You're on a podcast right now. Do you listen to podcasts? Is there anything, is there something you like to use to help you stay on top of modalities, and then just in general, making sure that you know what's what and that you're the best leader you can be?
Well, one of the things I learned here about 8 years ago, and you'd think that's a long time into business, I'd learned. As an entrepreneur, you wear all the hats in the beginning. And you start handing them off as time goes on, and you have the wherewithal and the people to do it. And one of the last ones I hadn't handed off was marketing. So about 8-9 years ago, I hired a marketing manager because I was so busy. And after 2 weeks, I realized I couldn't market my way out of a paper bag. And it was something I should have taken off years earlier. And so that's the one of the big mistakes I made as an entrepreneur is in marketing. And so I have a marketing staff that we get a lot of leads from Facebook. Personally, I think Facebook is for sending baby pictures to grandma. Okay. I don't use it. I'm not on it personally. I didn't grow up with social media. Right. I don't see any use for it. I have zero interest in tweeting out what I did for lunch. I'm sorry. I don't understand it. And I don't understand the attraction of it. And it doesn't interest me. but it does other people. And so I have
Mhm.
a staff that handles all that.
Mhm.
We do a lot of video work now.
Mhm. Mhm.
We're recording another voiceover this afternoon.
Great.
We do a lot of educational ones. We do some fun ones,
Mhm.
and we do some strange ones.
Mhm.
The Halloween one with the IRS being the army of the living dead is a lot of fun. But unusual things happen.
Mhm.
Our biggest viewed video is on FUTA, Federal Unemployment Tax Act.
Okay.
By far, it's our biggest viewed video.
All right.
Would you like to know why?
Yes, I would.
Because FUTA is an acronym for Japanese transsexual porn.
Oh, I see. Oops.
So, well, the Federal Unemployment Tax Act existed long before
Yeah.
that did.
Mhm.
So we get some very unusual comments
Yeah.
on that
Yeah.
video.
Like false
they tend to think
advertising.
they tend to think I'm clueless.
You baited and switched.
So marketing is a wild and woolly
Yeah.
world out there.
Yeah,
You
it
know.
can be. It can be, especially when you start talking about video. How big is your team?
We have 3 people in the marketing department.
Mhm.
I have Michael, who's my videographer, who
Mhm.
he's in the next office and hears every word I say. And then Anash, who's our marketing manager,
Mhm.
and Pete, who's our business development manager.
Okay. And then the team overall is how big? The whole company?
A dozen people.
Okay.
And we do more work constantly with less people. We
Yeah.
have less people than we used to
Sure.
because of technology.
Yep. Mhm. Yeah.
We don't.
Good
we
news,
print
bad
very
news.
few. Oh, it's good news.
Yeah.
We print very few checks anymore. Most of it's all electronic.
Mhm.
We don't ship a lot of reports. They're electronic. We don't input a lot of data. It's electronic.
Mhm.
The world has changed.
Mhm.
You don't make fire with 2 sticks.
No.
You use an electronic igniter.
Yes, exactly. Need a lighter.
With a plasma flame. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so switching gears a little bit. You've had a really wonderful legacy and I'm sure you have lots of stories for us. But is there one in particular that you'd like to share where you felt like, you're going along your merry way, but the rug gets pulled out from underneath you and you're not sure that your business is going to survive, but ultimately it turned out to be the best thing that could have happened?
I'll tell you one of the worst Saturdays of my business life. I came into work and there was a stack of mail in the box, and I brought it in and I started opening up, and there were notices for NSFs on the trust account to the tune of $25,000 in fees.
Oof.
And I literally sat in the corner and cried. I had no idea what the hell was going on. Come to find out, my bank was also the bank of one of my biggest customers. And my biggest customer had a ACH limit of $300,000.
Okay.
And the payroll they had submitted was just over that. So the bank rejected my ACH draft.
Okay.
Didn't tell the client.
Okay.
Didn't tell me. Didn't tell anybody. And so we didn't get the draft from my client, and all the paychecks that we had paid out, they were beginning to pay and charging us $25 a piece for. And I'm very glad when I figured out what was going on. It was Saturday, because I probably would have taken a shotgun down to go see my banker.
Yeah.
But as it was, the next week, her banker got fired and my banker got fired. Properly so, because they were negligent in their duties.
Yeah, I mean, pick up the phone.
Because the client said, this is payroll. Of course we want to fund it.
Yeah.
Why didn't you call us?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And of course they were one of the bank's biggest clients.
Mm-hmm.
And we were one of the bank's biggest clients in the terms of money we were moving through it. I mean, we were moving, $100 million a month through them. More. So, two bankers went elsewhere when all was said and done, and everything, of course, got reversed, and all the fees got, canceled out, and so on and so forth. But outsiders can screw you up. You can do everything right, and other people in other circumstances can make your life miserable.
Yeah. How quickly did that get resolved?
It was resolved by Monday afternoon.
Okay.
The outflow took the firing took another couple of weeks and so on.
But released to the economy
because both I was screaming at the bank Monday morning, as was my client.
Certainly.
Because this was their payroll, and I had every right to go back and draft every direct deposit back and void every outstanding check and sue every employee for every cash check because it was fraud. We had been defrauded by their employer. There was a lot of criminality involved in actions that happened.
Wow.
Because of the bank errors.
Yeah.
So, and because an NSF check, particularly in Texas, is prima facie evidence of fraud. So is a failed draft. A draft that has been rejected by a client or their bank without cause is fraud on the face of it, prima facie. So the bank senior management quickly realized they had a major problem.
Indeed. And so what do you feel like is the important lesson to take away as a listener? And, did you do something differently after that? Did you start doing something differently and change your SOPs at all? Or
oh, absolutely. And change banks and a number of other things.
Number one, yes.
and made sure we were much more in contact with our clients and our bank officers. And so they understood that this was extremely important business, and they can't just arbitrarily do things. They have to call me first. If there's a problem, you have my cell phone. Contact me. We're a legitimate business. At that point, we'd been in business for 20 years. Come on. There's a problem. It's a problem. It's not a situation. You just need to talk to me.
Right.
We're nobody's cheating anybody. Nobody's moving any funds erroneously. Nobody's doing anything. So something's happened.
Right.
So let's figure it out.
I can't even imagine the magnitude of volume that's happening in your bank accounts. I mean, I imagine you have more than one.
Yeah. We don't let one bank. And that was another thing is we immediately started using two banks because if one goes south on us, we have an alternative already in place because getting an ACH facility to direct deposit and move money these days is gotten almost impossible.
Really?
The banks just don't want to do it. And so, we were with KeyBank when they decided to get out of the payroll business. They courted us for 4 years. We finally said yes. And then 2 years later, they said, "Oh, we're getting out of the payroll business."
Interesting. Why?
Because they had done some stupid things and said, we're going to take on the credit risk for the payroll companies.
Interesting.
And got burnt for about $1 million.
Well,
so senior management said, we're just going to get out of the payroll business and abandon a business that brings us in $5 million a year profit because we lost $1 million. And if I'd had the wherewithal, I'd have bought that business at the time. But at that time, I didn't have the wherewithal.
Sure.
And so they just said to all of us as clients, go away.
Interesting.
You have 6 months to find somebody else.
So do you need, I'm getting in the weeds here, do you need a different banking product than the rest of us just
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, when we're moving hundreds of millions of dollars a year,
Sure.
with what they're looking at, I had one of the banks. They got bought up and they brought in a new ACH manager, and he said to me, Charles, we're going to need 3 times your maximum ACH exposure in cash in the bank.
Oh.
I said to him, this is hundreds of clients that we're moving through here every day. And he says, well, yeah, but if they fail, then the bank's out the money, and what the risk is just too high. And I said, if all of my clients fail one day, if all the drafts for all my clients I send through that day fail, they all fail that day, it's not a banking problem. You have absolutely no problem, because the economy has totally, completely, and irrevocably collapsed. You need to worry not about the bank, but about land to grow food and a gun to protect yourself, because it's now anarchy.
Yep, needs a clean water source.
and exactly. And he could not get his hands around that fact. Bankers are taught banking and taught credit at credit school, and they have a procedure to follow, and they are not, this is what cracks me up with the commercials, they are not visionary people.
Yeah, right.
They don't care about an entrepreneur's vision. They only care about collateral. And if you don't have collateral, they don't care.
Yeah, on an institutional level, absolutely. I am married to a banker who definitely has some vision, but it is not his bank, which, much to his chagrin.
and when he takes it to committee, his vision doesn't count for much, I'm afraid.
No, yeah. Well, that's definitely a topic of dinner conversation.
Well, that's what I learned as an entrepreneur, working with my wife. My parents worked together.
Okay.
I thought it was natural. Well, working with your spouse is an unnatural act. And we had to learn that we had 2 relationships. At home, happy wife, happy life. Her house to run, and things went her way. At business, I'm the professional. I'm the CPA. She's not. I'm sorry, when I said it has to be this way, it has to be this way. This is what I wanted to be.
You can take it out on me later.
And so it took about a year to do that. One of the toughest things is she'd have one last thing on her mind. We'd get ready for bed, get into bed. And then she'd turn to me and have this one last thing she wanted to talk about. Then she'd roll over and go to sleep.
Now you're like,
and I'm sitting there until 2 a.m. worrying about it. So we had to come to an accommodation. After dinner, no more business. Meant for some very late suppers sometimes. But we pretty well adhere to that. After dinner, no more business.
Yeah, need like a master services agreement. Oh,
very much so.
Yes, we had discussed early on when I was starting my PR and marketing company. He was like, I can help you as much as you like. We will never be in business together. Like, we need to go our separate ways, and then we come back.
But I will say this for budding entrepreneurs. Your spouse, your partner has to understand that in the beginning, there is no work-life balance. It's going to be 80, 100 hours a week, probably for several years. And if they can't handle and understand that, you're going to have personal problems. Luckily, my wife and I worked together, and she understood it, and we weathered it. And so working with your spouse can be useful. But if they don't understand what you're going to have to put into being an entrepreneur, it's going to get old for them very quick.
Yeah, I do see that happening sometimes, and missing that support, and that's challenging and sad. I do appreciate how much I am supported, and that he's not in the with day to day with me, but he understands and is very encouraging of what I need to do to make that payroll.
Exactly. And it's you've put a good portion of your life into this. And as I have, as every entrepreneur does, and it's our baby.
Yeah.
It's our livelihood. It's our future. Yeah, our marriage is important, but my God, I work at this all day long. Give me a break.
Okay. So looking back, when you were a kiddo, was there a personality trait of yours that, whether or not you were criticized for it, you internalized that maybe this was a weakness of yours, being competitive or ambitious or empathetic like me, or sensitive, but now as a leader, that you realize that it's actually your superpower?
I have no tact.
I'm picking up on that. straight shooter.
You ask me a question, I'm going to tell you the answer as I see it. I don't really care whether you like it or not. You ask for it. But what that does is we don't play politics in this company. I just refuse to allow it. We don't play games. You ask me a question, I'm going to give you an answer. If I don't want to answer it, I'll tell you I don't want to answer that. I'm not going to give you a wishy-washy answer. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I don't do it with my employees, my clients, or my vendors. I never have. So, yeah, that allows me to do and say things because that's who I am. And, if you don't like it, it's your problem, not mine. Have I lost customers over it? Yeah. Have I lost employees over it? Yeah. I had one young lady who was a little ditzy and done some silly things. And so one day I said to her, okay, I want you to put one hand on this side of your chin and the other on this side and push. And she did. And I said, well, it looks like it's on straight.
Oh, no.
The next morning I found her I quit with the key in an envelope on my desk. That's all right. It didn't bother me in the least.
You're like, no problem.
It saved me from paying unemployment on her.
Right. Oh, my goodness. You better watch yourself.
It does. Yeah, I mean, the biggest question of my marriage, everybody loved my wife. My wife was one of those people that everybody loved. Even people she didn't like thought of her as their best friend. And the biggest question in her life was, why'd she marry a schmuck like me? But, it worked for us. We were happily married for 45 years before she passed.
Oh, I'm sure you miss her.
Terribly.
It reminds me of my parents a little bit. Everyone was wondering if my mother is a saint.
Ruth was. She put up with me for 45 years.
Yes. What a blessing. So as we get close to wrapping up, do you have a piece of advice for our listeners that they can take and use in their businesses and lives to make them stronger and better?
Yes. Besides the Bill Gates one, which I think is very important, there's another one I find in dealing with clients and with employees. There is never a traffic jam on the extra mile.
I love that.
Go the extra mile because other people won't. It will set you apart. It will set you head and shoulders above the competition and above other companies for employment purposes because you go the extra mile for your employees and for your clients, and they will appreciate that. I have a client that's been with me. Well, I actually am dealing with her kids, and she's retired. She told me one day she gets people that call her, probably once a week, wanting to do her payroll. She says, no, I'm happy. She says, and they say, we can do it cheaper. And she says, I say to them, I don't care if you can do it for free. I'm not leaving Charles. That's the kind of loyalty you can build where they don't even want to entertain the competition. And loyal clients are much more important than happy clients.
Mm-hmm.
Because loyal clients, you can screw up
Mm-hmm.
and they won't leave you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Happy clients, you can make unhappy and they will.
Right.
Loyal clients are loyal clients. They're going to put up with you through thick or thin.
Mm-hmm.
When my daughter died, my work was terrible. I was doing a lot more accounting work at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a few months to get my head out of my.
Sure.
And when I did, and I finally realized and looked at the work I was doing, I apologized to my clients, each one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And every one of them said, no big deal. We understand.
Yeah.
It's not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
We knew you'd come around.
Mm-hmm.
That's loyal clients.
Right.
That's
right.
what you want to develop.
Right. Well, they know what level to expect. And if it's not there, that something is amiss. And, we are human beings in addition to the work that we're creating. And you buy a lot of grace by doing excellent work and doing what you said.
Yeah. If you build that loyalty in your clients, it's just unreal what the benefits it brings you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you. All right. So, Charles, where can people find you?
Well, we're at getpayroll.com on the web.
Okay.
My email is cjr@getpayroll.com.
Okay.
And frankly, 972-353-0000. Ask for Charles.
I'll put it in the show notes. Thank you, Charles.
My pleasure.
Thanks for listening to The Impatient Entrepreneur. Love the podcast? Be sure to share it with a friend or colleague and give us a 5-star review. You can also chat with us on Instagram or Facebook at The Impatient Entrepreneur Pod. Want to star on a feature episode? Head over to theimpatiententrepreneur.com to inquire. Thank you to the team at Quidar & Co. for believing in me and bringing this podcast to life. And thank you to Carson Childers for mixing and editing this episode. I can't wait to see you next time.